I want our U.S. government budget on the blockchain. I want to know who approved this. I want to see where the money went, exactly to what company, right? We should be able to track down all these things. We should be able to track down when someone spends the end of their budget to buy a bunch of fancy computers or $15,000 hammers or whatever it is. That needs to be traceable, right? It is disgusting the way that we're wasting money. And I've heard the exact same stories you are. Mostly, I spent most of my career in tech. I heard about the IT departments and how they spend their money, man. And if the budget is about to roll over, they're all buying a bunch of new laptops, whatever, because like you said, you don't spend it, you lose it. That is the worst rule. Could you imagine if that was your budget at home? If you were told your kids, if you don't spend all your money, I'm not giving you as much next week. Like you're teaching the worst possible lessons. I can't think of a worse lesson.
Yeah. When it comes to government, it does seem like the incentives are the absolute worst incentives like that you could possibly imagine. It's as if the incentives are made to be detrimental to the stated goals of the government and detrimental to anything that benefits the American people.
Sometimes I think they are.
It's not just the government too. In the private sector, when I worked for master brand cabinets, we would make sure we would spend all the money we had just to make sure we got the next month.
Yeah,
I'd like to see the budget on the blockchain to a point, but I'd also like to see a black budget on the blockchain, maybe, that we don't know where it's going, only because I can value government secrecy a little bit. I understand that there are like deep secret programs where you don't want to know that Lockheed got $700 million for an AI, weapons research program, because if everyone knows, then they're just going to seize it or like get in there or spy. So like, but I think a lot of the stuff belongs on the blockchain.
Yeah, I'm okay with like some sort of specific location that you send the money to if it needs to be black, right? You see that we spent a certain amount and it went to the black budget. But at least we have to see that, right? Like once it gets sent there, do whatever you want with it. But I don't like the fact that we don't even know what the black budget is, right? We don't know. Money just disappears from the Pentagon. Money just disappears from all these, like, oh, we lost billions and billions of dollars. Yep. That's crazy.
But do you see that sort of going down a slippery slope? Because now everything's going to the black budget. Everything's going to be like, oh, listen, yeah, we sent $5 trillion. That's the black budget.
That's
I mean, I think either we see all of it or we don't. You know what I mean? Like when my wife and I are doing our budget for our shopping expenses, for our utilities, for our mortgage and all that, it's right there. We know exactly what we're spending. We know exactly how much we're bringing in, everything else. The same thing with the government. I don't trust the government to the point where I have this black budget where I'm like, you know what? I trust them that if they have $5 trillion with this, they're going to do the right thing with it.
But we don't get to see your budget. Like, it's your budget with your wife isn't on our blockchain, because if everyone knew how much ammo everyone had at every house, that could be very bad.
I do think that you've got a point, Zeke. The federal government is notorious about overclassifying things, because if things are classified, then they're not in a way that the American people can see it. And then if the American people don't know, they don't ask questions. So your point is well taken. I think that is a legitimate worry. Not to say that everything that the government does has to be specifically outlined. I think that it's not a bad idea to say, look, there are certain projects that we're doing. This is the amount of money that we spend on them. And we won't be any more detailed about that. But when it comes to, giving an outlet or giving a way to classify things so the American people can't see it, the more you allow the government to do that, the more the government's going to do that.
I'm pro-transparency to the extent that, like, the more the better. But I think we're starting at close to zero. And even if we have some with a black budget, like you were talking about, that's better than no transparency. But I actually agree with you. I'd rather see it all. Like, I don't think we need any black budget, because even if it's for some secret military program, okay, so call it secret military program, whatever, right? Or even say what it is. Like, we're building a missile defense system and we need $1 trillion for it, or whatever it is, right? I'm stopping. I don't buy the argument that we can't handle the truth anymore. I just don't buy it.
But if the adversaries know what we're spending our money on defensively, they'll know how to circumvent the defenses. The Nazis had to hide their weapons programs in the early days. Otherwise, they never would have been able to take over France. And not that we're building it for offensive purposes, but had we known that the Nazis were actually using their auto industry to build tanks, they wouldn't have been able to invade Poland. We would have stopped them before they could have invaded Poland.
My sense is, one way or another, it's drone on drone. not too far from now anyway. I don't think that it's really going to be a secret. It's drone swarms. That's what everyone's going to be building. So like, oh, we're spending 100 million, 200 billion, however much it is, building our drone swarm. That's what I'm okay with saying that to the world.
I just don't want it to turn to something like what we're seeing with the Pentagon, where they're like, oh, hey, listen, you did the audit for the past 9 years and we've lost $15 trillion. Oh well, I don't want it to turn into something like that.
So if we had like the drone swarm program, which obviously we're building right now, drone countermeasures. We need like laser defense systems, EMPs that can just shock these drones out of the sky, whatever. How itemized should that be on the blockchain? Because if they know every piece and part that we're organizing, they'll know exactly what to build to get around it.
Well, I don't think that you have to have the vendors' budgets on the blockchain. So we send $1 billion to Lockheed and they spend it how they want on this drone program, right? Because I agree, you don't want them to know all the details of the sensors and the capabilities and all those different things. There's reasons why we keep some of that private. Like you said, it's easy to counter if you know all the details. But at a certain point, my sense is none of that even will matter. It's just going to be who has a bigger swarm. It's going to be numbers. I think that the biggest national security risk we have in the United States right now is we're not manufacturing enough here. And I think that the fact that they're building all the good drones in China right now is absolutely frightening. So I don't think it's a secret what the biggest military powers are going to be doing in the future anymore. I think we've got to the point in technology where it's clear what it is. It's building these cheap drones, tons and tons of them. And like, who cares if they even get shot down? We'll just send more.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.